that industry as well. So with that, like I said, I think, knowing that there is a lot of value that females bring to the industry, women are very, very important in terms of that strategic competitive advantage that they bring to that organization. Did my slides stop sharing? Ah, perfect. Thank you. Okay, if you can blow that up, then I'll keep talking there. Slide two, three, the one after that. Thank you. Can you go to the next slide, please, and blow up the slide deck? Can you increase the slide deck, please? Okay, I'll just continue in interest of time. I know there's a lot we want to get through. So, as I mentioned, I think we bring a competitive advantage, and I think the reason for that is three primary things. Thank you. At first is we tend to bring a very diverse perspective. I think we're just inherently born with this ability to really always want to try something new. If you think about your younger years, it's always been like that. But I also think as we progress in our careers, it's that mindset that I think really gives us that competitive advantage. We challenge the legacy mindset. We ask questions about why are things the way they are. There's also this willingness to know that if there's regulatory mandates that apply to your organization, we're a little bit quicker to adapt to those things because we can see the bigger picture. And also in terms of supply chain transformation, there's a lot of new technologies out there. And I know that there could be lots and lots of discussions around that, but you think of AI, you think of big data, IoT, or labeling, technologies, which is a big one as well. I myself am in that world of AI, right? So I see the disparity in terms of females and males in that discussions. And because the topic is still relatively new, males tend to question it a little bit more, which is healthy. That debate is healthy. But I think what females bring to that conversation is the ability to be able to see how it all comes together with such new technologies. And I think having that makes it a little bit more convincing in the team to really adapt to and take on those new technologies. Second, I think the higher EQ and the behavioral propensity we bring to the team, that's just in us, innate in us, right? So use that to your advantage, I would say, if we're not doing it already. Like I said earlier, I think when we sit in a room, we have the ability to really see the bigger picture. And with that, I think it brings to us that if we can really take that view and also speak up a little bit more in those discussions, I think we bring credibility to those discussions. And that helps you go from that start of your career in supply chain to more of that mid to executive level career growth. So speak up because you certainly have the ability to see where that conversation is leading to. And also, I think females have a tendency to really thrive in an environment where you can break down those silos and also coordinate with teams. I think inherently do well when we talk to each other. Think about it in personal lives, right? Our kiddie parties and what's not, but it's the same thing as far as professional too. We do much, much better when we bounce ideas off of each other. And so with that, I think with that, we are able to really connect the dots, and supply chain being a world of connecting the dots. I think we are able to bring that transformation quicker to supply chain organizations. And lastly, it's just good business. Much of the supply chain organizations are in the retail world, commerce world. And so with that, consumers of those of those industries tend to be females too. So I think we understand our consumers better, and in terms of what pace we need to move as in terms of an organization that needs to deliver, both in terms of technologies that we use, in terms of innovation that we need to use, that resonates with our consumers. I think we're able to understand that better because we're able to connect with our audience much better. And also, as organizations get more global, we're able to break down those silos where processes don't have to be so disjointed. We look for those opportunities where, again, we get to cooperate together and streamline and standardize our global supply chains, which is another one. So I think all in all, these three things are competitive advantages, and we should always keep this in mind as areas that we bring to the table. Next slide, please. Thank you. So with that in mind, I think it's important that, like I said, closing the gender gap, it's going to take some time, but those statistics you saw are what they're showing is that projection where if you stay in the supply chain career, I think you really have an opportunity to grow. But it takes a few things to keep in mind as you grow. The first one is a mindset shift. I think there's this tendency that before we make any decisions, we always tend to be needing entire data set in order to speak confidently about it. And I think we need to get more comfortable with the uncomfortable, which is that it's not really about the gender. If you think about the characteristics of how typical males, make decisions versus a typical female, a typical male would probably go into decision-making mode with 80% of the data, while a female still looks to make sure that they have all criteria considered before they do that. And I think we need to change that characteristics about ourselves to really be okay with the fact that, as long as you're making a decision you feel confident with, and if there is anything that needs to happen post-decision, we usually are pretty good in taking action to that. So make sure that as a characteristic that you're building in yourself or in terms of harnessing, be okay with decision making and being confident with those decisions. And with that is also, like I said earlier, I think it's really is about another characteristic where we don't, even though we have the knowledge, we have the ideas, we don't contribute to discussions. There's this tendency to, it's called the imposter syndrome, which many of you probably know and are shaking your heads. We tend to say, okay, well, this person already spoke my idea, so why do I need to say it again? I think that reinforcement is important. Again, it builds your credibility, but it also just goes to show to the room that you have the ability to contribute. You're in that room of that discussion for a reason, so bring that value into it. And I think the more you speak up in those discussions and be more comfortable with the uncomfortable, that credibility builds with the entire team. And it also allows you to grow and be more confident as you take more decisions and bigger decisions impacting your organization and supply chains. The other one would be, I know everyone has a busy, busy day and busy lifestyle, but leverage the organizations and the tools that you have around you. And I think today is a prime example of that, right? ISM-INDIA is certainly one of those organizations that promotes the female workforce continuing to both start in the industry, but also retain in the industry. So if there are certain technologies that you're interested in or certain conversations or skill sets you want to build, continue to do that. And also, these organizations really help because it allows you to build your network in a way that's not necessarily related to your day-to-day work that you do. So again, helps you build that breadth of perspective, but it also allows you to build what I call your personal advisory board, right? You always have an advisory board for organizations. It's no different in your career as well. So build that network of allies, but then also give back. So when you do your networking or when you join these organizations like this, and at least personally, this is one that I think has really helped me grow in what has been very male-dominated industries, is have your personal advisory board, but also be a mentor to others. I think giving back also helps build in other ways because it reminds you as you go up in the organization or in your career, what it is that individuals that, are either in your team or at the beginning of the career, what they need, because that was you at one point as well. And you tend to forget what those challenges are. So in order to build strong teams yourself, you have to be able to mentor and keep that perspective in mind as well. So I think that's important. And again, with supply chain organizations really looking to transform from a technology perspective, another way you can close the gender gap is by developing that technology skill set. So many of us in our supply chain teams come with either a commerce background or from an engineering background. And I think we have another advantage there is that we tend to pick up new skill sets quickly. And that is a known fact too, right? As we look at just the last few years when we talk about AI and new technologies in the big data world, it is very much known that there is a skill set lacking in this industry. And I think we as females, because we tend to adapt to technologies quicker, we should look for opportunities where we can learn those or get trained in those skill sets. Again, bringing something new and valuable to the table. And lastly, I think there is value in also understanding some corporate policies. So make sure you build your allies in terms of human resources and individuals and team members that are really working on those corporate policies, because there's an option there in terms of if you, as you grow in that career, you get to influence some of those corporate policies. And I think us being females really do well with multitasking and so forth. But we need to make sure that there is a sounding board that allows us to have flexibility in our working operations and our onboarding practices too, right? There's a tendency for, oh, you'll just learn when you join, right? And I think there is certain excitement in that, but also I think it's important for you as you grow in your career to influence those onboarding practices. So females looking to get into and are in the start of their career in supply chain also get to get a little bit more confident in terms of what is the organization about, how does the supply chain operate for that organization, and again, being able to contribute better because they then have that knowledge. Next slide. So again, I kind of mentioned this a little bit through the discussion here, is that whether you're at your start of your career, mid-career, executive career, I think there's different aspects you can think about or focus on, right? The first one, if you're in the start of your career in supply chain, I think it's so exciting. There is so much that I think the supply chain workforce has to offer, especially if you're a candidate from STEM or STEP in engineering or production, which is where the world I came from. My first job was manufacturing, working on the production floor, which was very, very male dominated. But I think what I just had was so much exposure to me in terms of which aspect of supply chain did I really want to pursue. So you have the ability to not really be pigeonholed from the beginning. And I think that's really exciting. And also just keep in mind that as you're looking to expose yourself to all aspects of procurement and supply chain, that you also continue to keep the mentorship in mind. So find your allies, find your individuals, both male and female, I would say, right? And all different aspects of where they are in their career. And if you're in your mid-career, which I think is most of us, think about the fact that most of our organizations that we work for are really Industry 4.0, right? We're looking for those transformations. It's not about the small growths anymore. It's about how do we go from that 2 to 3% growth to more of that 10% growth in our organizations. And I already mentioned females workforce really contribute to that profitability. But again, take advantage by building those skill sets that complement that Industry 4.0 theme that we've seen again and again. And then again, don't ever forget about building your allies, whether they're internal and also external through organizations like this. I think a lot of my allies that I built and mentorship I built was through SWE. As I mentioned, I've been a chairperson for SWE for many years now. And I think a lot of my growth outside of the organizations have come through organizations like this, which really help you grow. And then lastly, if you are in your executive level, which some of you I know are as well, and I'm excited to see you on this webinar, I think it's great to see that contribution, is really just continue to promote supplier diversity. I think we forget about that. We tend to focus on really just our organization and diversity within our team, but there's also your supplier diversity. So continue to echo that theme with the vendors and the suppliers that you're working with. I think that also goes to show how the company can grow even better. Lastly, I think there is an ability to make an impact with sustainability efforts as well. I think that is one that most of us really understand and again have a competitive advantage over. And it's another theme that we've seen in supply chain and procurement. So again, take that to your advantage in terms of how do you build on that trend and the ability to try really promote that as well. And again, there's policy changes. Those always take time. But as you get to your executive level positions, I think you can influence that a little bit more. And so continue to build your teams that are a little bit more, diverse and also inclusive. And I think inclusion is really the theme that we're really looking to get to here. So those would be my advice. And so again, thank you for the time, and thank you, Keipki, for the introduction. And I know there's an exciting panel discussion about to start here, but again, happy Women's International Day, and I'll take any quick questions. Otherwise, thanks again.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your inputs and your kind and encouraging words. I'm sure for everyone, it was very much, it was very valuable. Moving on to the panel discussion, let's welcome Dr. Saroj Kaul, who is Professor of Supply Chain Management at Jindal Global Business School in India. Her industry, teaching, and research experience spans of 35 years. She is a life member of System Dynamics Society of India and is also on the advisory board of several educational institutes in India, where her contributions to the advancement of student community and modern teaching philosophy are very well recognized. So let's welcome our moderator, Dr. Saroj. I hand over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Keitki. So first of all, I should thank Shilpi for a very, very topical and relevant presentation. What points I could take from her is ability to see the big picture, the experience of the female workers, the confidence in their ideas. This gives rise to credibility. They can leverage technology. They are very well adept to coordinate. They need to work on their skill sets because they come from diverse backgrounds. And this all together gives rise to a very good competitive advantage for the individual as well as for the company. So that is why we can move from the 2% to the push to the 10%. I can only add that as the domain of procurement is making its mark globally, we talk about sustainability, we talk about AI related, we are talking many, many things these days, but women are making their mark in the domain of procurement. So today, women procurement officers significantly impact the crafting of the present and future of procurement, supply chain logistics, and beyond. So let me talk about some impressive and inspirational global faces. So these are Chief Procurement Officers at the Bank of America. She is Tharian Thomas. At Boeing, Jenny. At Starbucks, Ben Strong. At PwC Global, it is Florence. Then at Nike, it is Natasha. Cisco, it is Alexandra. So we have the head of the Chief Procurement Officer at PepsiCo as Melanie. Then at Nestle, this is global again, we have Patricia. And at Google, which is number one, considered as number one, is Jennifer Mokri. So these procurement leaders oversee some of the most critical aspects of global business, including what we call today as the ESG, environment, social, and governance. They also look at diversity, equity, and inclusion, because that is now taking up a little bit prominence than it was earlier. And they also talk about, they have in their portfolio sustainability. Thus, in the past decade, as very well Shilpi has shown the first picture of her presentation. So as per multiple reports, I could say Procurement Leaders 2023 and some of the US Fortune 500 reports, we have witnessed renewed interest and effort in increasing gender equity and positions at the board level. However, globally, this figure is reported as 14%. So these are low levels, and they are due to the fact that women account for, looking at university, it is only 37% of university procurement students out of that STEM gathering, and 41% of global purchasing institute members. So we have in these purchasing institute members, several of them, and the reports say that it is still low. So what is also noticeable is that procurement levels are not merely low, but also lower than in other professions. This was also vividly clear from the graph that was presented to us. So accordingly, if you look at the US database and the Office of National Statistics, their website tells that they have a comparison also. They say 23% of UK marketing directors are female. 24% of UK law firm partners are 25%. The US accounting firms is very low at 20%. And all of the US human resource executives reported to be female are at 55%. So thus it corresponds to the 41%, 44% that Shilpi mentioned, and what is available on the website. This statistics is extremely low when we consider procurement officers' visibility in India. We do not have any specific male to female ratio in India, and a case for diversity can arise in the Indian context, and same is being explored nowadays with a group of people. With that background, through the auspices of ISM-INDIA, which is a pioneer in getting supply chain and procurement, in particular purchasing activities, strategic procurement to the people around in India, we have a fantastic panel today to discuss some issues that assume priority in this domain. We can say that the themes today will move from glass ceilings to purposeful procurement, team building, collective action, to career advice, and a future outlook. We will have 2 rounds. Each esteemed panelist shall respond to one specific question in the first round, and then in the second round, we will have a quick follow-up question for some members as per the time that Ketki provides to us. So to begin with Ketki, we have Meenakshi Natarajan. Ketki is there? Okay. So until she puts up the background slide for Meenakshi. So I can say Meenakshi is a global sourcing manager at Air Products. This company is known for its world-scale industrial gas complexes, focusing on the greening part. Meenakshi, please describe how would you have leveraged your role to drive positive social or environmental impact through your procurement practices. Over to you, Meenakshi.
Thank you, Saroj ma'am. Hello all. Supply chain being the primary interface with the upstream supply chain division, the procurement function has a very important role to play in shaping an organizational, social and environmental impact, both directly through the purchase decisions and indirectly by influencing the product designs. So this can be achieved through sustainable procurement. Sustainable procurement mainly focus on environmental, social and ethical factors into the procurement process, and also promotes a fair labor practices, human rights and diversity and inclusions within the supply chain. So some of the sustainable practices I followed and implemented over these years as a procurement specialist are mainly related to the supplier selection process, choosing the transportation mode, choosing the environmental friendly materials, equipment for the new product development. So when I say about the supplier selection process, the preference will be given to the women-owned enterprises and the companies owned by the military veterans and so on. And also during the supplier evaluation process, we ensure that no child labor is engaged, and we also check the ESG impact, environmental, social and governance impact of the suppliers. We have some reports, DNB is one among them. So through that reports, we will find the ESG impact of the organization. So this way we ensure that the compliance to the social and environmental factors. And during the contract formulation and during the negotiations, we also ensure that the packing materials shall be recyclable, or we will encourage the suppliers to use the recycled products for packing, all those stuff. And the second area where I want to touch upon is the transportation. We call as green transportation. So in this transportation, we always encourage to bundle the requirements and transport through sea instead of road, air, or rail, because the CO2 emissions through the sea transport is very low when compared to the CO2 emissions when we transport it through the road or air transport. So this is one of the area. And the other one is during the product development phase, mainly our organization is into developing the new products. So during the product development phase itself, we ensure that energy efficient materials and products that don't affect the environment are being used or being recommended during the product development stage. So these are some of the areas where I leverage my role to drive the positive social and environmental impact. Thank you.
Meenakshi. Yeah, thank you very much. Sustainable procurement, which includes ESG at various levels. This purpose has been your mantra since it has impacted the organizational's, let me say, profit and profitability. It should be like that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Next, we have Priya Malhotra. She is DGM at AWFIC Space Solutions. She is with us. I can see her. Yeah. She is a multifaceted personality as per her LinkedIn website. So, Dr. Malhotra, in your role, how would you advocate for collaboration and inclusion within your organizational's procurement team, fostering diverse perspective and voices?
Hello all. Good afternoon, ma'am. Chance Parsh. So, as you said, how I'm educating my role within the procurement division. So, let me explain my mantras, how I'm dealing day on day with my team. So, there are few tips and tricks that I'm using my day on day procurement things. So, we can use basic strategies to foster diverse perspectivity and voice within the team. First of all, as a leader, we need to set up a clear vision for the team. So clear communication, the importance of the collaboration and inclusion within the procurement team. Emphasize how diverse perspective can lead to better decision making and innovation. Second, lead by the example, like demonstrate inclusive behavior in a day-on-day interaction with the team members. Actively seek out and valuable from the team viewpoint during discussion and decision making of any kind of case we are closing, right? So we need to take a overview of our team also, like either we are doing correct or not. Third and important point is to establish a safe space for dialogues where team can we need to create an opportunity for the team member to express their opinion and ideas openly without fear of judgment, right? Encourage and constructive feedback and clear communication we need to do with our team so that they can openly come to us and deliver their thought process on any kind of things we are doing our day on day activities. Fourth is promote diversity in hiring. Like we need to encourage our HR to implement inclusive hiring perspective to attract candidates from diverse gender and background, right? So we need to hire like a ratio of male and female within the department so that the balance should be there, and the from different background. Like if I'm doing IT procurement, so I need to have some IT manager who can handle IT thing. If I'm doing operational procurement, so we need to have some operational manager who have understanding about the operational or project products, right? Third, we need to provide proper training and workshops to the team so that they can enhance their communication skills, their work skills, and come up with their best within them, right? There is one point, this is the encouragement of cross function collaboration, which is called. So I'm generally promoting this activity within my team. So facilitate and collaboration between the procurement team and other departments that we call the stakeholders of the organization. This can help break down soils and promote a more inclusive approach to decision making. Like if we are doing something, if we are closing any case, so we need to have collaborative discussion with the stakeholders and with the team, so mutually we should come on some kind of conclusion. Next, recognition and reward. So we need to recognize or acknowledgement and celebrate the team member who are actively promote collaboration and inclusion within the procurement team. This can help reinforce the importance of these value, encourage mentorship program within the team. Like if we think that there is a team member who can be a manager or senior manager or can be promoted, so we need to encourage the mentorship program, or you can say the promotional activity. So the last point that is the regularly review and adjust practices. So continuously evaluate your team process and practices to ensure they are inclusively and adequately closing their thing. Solicitate the feedback from team members and be willing to make changes as needed. Establish metrics to track your team work and behavior with the other stakeholders. So by implementing these strategies, a procurement leader can create a more collaborative and inclusive environment within the team, and fostering diverse perspective and voice that ultimately lead to a better outcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. With the tips that I also got: training, communication, lead by example, have a space safe for dialogue, look at diversity at the time of appointment. Basically, these are all team building exercises, and moving and allowing people to move to leadership roles. You have showcased that building bridges become important. Hence, I can say you are genuinely in love with the procurement domain. Yeah.
It's all your education, ma'am, that you are providing. Thank you so much, ma'am.
You are touching all the various facets of the procurement domain. So
Just
now on the
because-
panel,
Thank you, ma'am.
we have Anisha Khanna. She is the Chief Procurement Officer at Comviva India. Comviva is an IT consulting and service company. It may not be as large as Wipro, but still it has a very good impression on all over the area where it is supplying its consultancy and service companies. So for myself, as Saroj Kaur, I have been a practitioner. I have worked for 20 years in Bharat Heavy Electricals. Then I turned into a full-time academician. The question that I plan for Anisha, because it has left still a doubt in me all these 30 years. I started in the contracts department, so it was like that. So I ponder and want to ask you a question. Imagine a future where women are equally represented and empowered in procurement leadership roles. What would that future look like? And how can we collectively work towards achieving it? We have heard Shilpi talking about that there has been improvement. I gave names of about 10 top chief procurement officers, female officers. Then the two people who were in the panel, they also talked about what is called as their viewpoint in improving, increasing. But Anisha, this is a very tough question, and I know you will be able to solve it. What would that future look like, and how can we collectively work towards achieving it?
Sure. Thanks a lot, Saroj ma'am. And first of all, very grateful to ISM to give me a platform on this special day to interact with I think a cream of the industry and such top professionals here. So just to give a very briefly, I will just talk. Comviva is basically into a telecom provider. It's basically a part of Tech Mahindra. and spread across. We are providing services to, and rather products across 125 odd countries. Now, managing a CPO role, a Chief Procurement Officer, and I have been part of this organization for last 10 years. I would say that as a woman myself, it has been absolutely exciting. You come across various streams. You have, like, I think, again, I'll refer to a lot of points Shilpa had presented in her presentation. She talked about some of the, functions which are still heavily presented by women, but some are not. And I think procurement is still somehow, moving their way up. Before I answer your question, I just want to share a stat here, very similar to what Shilpa mentioned. So this is, I hope everybody can view this graph here, right? So can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So women in supply chain, if you see the levels of the leadership roles here, we are talking about, the overall workforce around 40%, probably very similar to what, again, Shilpa had talked about. But the first line managers, senior managers, directors, VPs, and then CPOs. So if you see the last percentage here, 15%, that is where is probably an issue where maybe over the years it has improved by a couple of points more. And again, alluding to what Shilpa mentioned, that worldwide probably 20%. So stopping my screen sharing. So if we have to really bring in women in this industry, so, we are 15% at the top level.
Yeah.
Of having a woman procurement person. I will just add 3 more points there. This was, again, as part of the Women's Day. We get a whole lot of congratulatory messages. So I got a message today where there were 3 key attributes and key qualities of women which were highlighted very strongly. A, very fine decision making. All of us women, we have an eye for detail. We like to go in the intricacies of the thing, though sometimes it works reversely for us when, the imposter syndrome comes, or when we feel that we are not ready with 100% of the data, and, men with 80% can jump to that decision. But that is a very good advantage for taking a decision on any of our transaction, any of, closure of our deals, etc. So that is number 1. Number 2 is the empathy, again, alluding to, what Shilpa had mentioned, but that is a very, very key quality. In fact, today in my organization, I heard my CEO talk about it in one of these meetings. And he said, this is something which we really, bring on the table. And especially procurement as a role, we are interacting with people, stakeholders, partners, across so many regulatory and supply chain and everybody. It's not a role where, you're just quietly sitting doing an individual contributor kind of a thing. You're doing people management, and it's like you're dealing with people, human. And human, if you don't have that quality of empathy, I don't think, you can really excel. So that's another key aspect. And I think the last is the better customer orientation. The way, because of that empathy, or that those qualities which we women bring the way you can engage, the relationship building, be a partner, be a customer, so both angles. Now with these qualities, just imagine what the future will look like with having women around. I think it would be bliss. It would be what Shilpa said again, it will translate into absolute dollars for the organization. How we can bring that extra bit value in our deals is uncomparable to, probably some slack will be left if our counterparts were to, crack those deals. So undoubtedly, we have that 15% as, the top leadership professionals where women need to really get onto that. And, with all these qualities which we bring under our belt, it's just going to be phenomenal. How we can do it, I'm sure, Priya just talked about, those tricks and tricks of the game. How do we get more and more women here? But I think the final answer is how we internally, we have that fire in us to really excel at our work. We women, and again, this was a discussion I was happening in our morning cup of tea with my colleague. We love to give, 100% to everything. If it is parenting, we'll give 100% to that. If it's some one particular dish, we will get, our all our energies into it. And if it is a work related issue, a deal we have to crack, we will get all the data around it. We will create a negotiation strategy. We will do our research for the partner. We will do competition. We will do everything under the sun to really get there. So that is the how part of it. But the future will be far, far better. And I think the McKinsey's and so many of researchers, again, alluding to Shilpa's point, there has been a equation established. More women workforce is equal to, more bucks, profitability, and so on and so forth. And procurement, I mean, I think all of us agree procurement is that cost. So while within an organization, it may be treated as just a delivery organization. But in our current situation where all the prices are going down south, we add that delta. We bring in that saving to enhance the EBITDA of an organization. So again, that 70% of spend which we are holding on, we women have that big purse of the organization. We clearly are bringing a lot on the table. So I think, I mean, that's there, and all of us would probably agree to that. Thanks, ma'am.
Thank you very much. So I take some important points from your visionary thinking, because it is still that can we move on to 50% of workforce for females in the procurement. So that it is touching towards that, if we can see through. So decision making, empathy, customer orientation, and this will give rise to more women if they are employed, and eventually it will be more dollars for the company, and that is what would be helpful. So this is a visionary example of a visionary thinking, and I praise your the team. I cannot say the team building spirit, but the female team building spirit, and which will give rise to collective actions, and hopefully we will be able to have it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Now that brings me to seek another similar question from Priya Srivastava, the Global Head of Procurement at Wipro. So Wipro, as we know that it's a very large organization. And Priya, what concrete actions can large service companies like Wipro take to create a more equitable and inclusive culture within their procurement departments?
Sure,
And
thank you.
in turn, empower women to thrive.
Sure, thank you, Saroj ma'am, and very good evening to everyone. I, very, very humbled to be a part of this esteemed panel today on this special day with so many women around, and being Women's Day, talking on something which is very close to all of our hearts, women, that I can see on the screen, right? So, I mean, I think we couldn't have asked for a better day and a better topic. So I have to first thank Kishan sir, Saroj ma'am, and everybody. We attend panel discussions, but I think we are here in heart and soul today. So again, thank you very much. And yes, ma'am, absolutely. So I can only say, we take a lot of pride as Wiproites today. From, we are a part of the Global Procurement Organization at Wipro. We are a centralized global procurement team of 170 people who manage $2.5 billion of global procurement for Wipro. And again, with a lot of pride and humility, I can say that at Wipro, we've made very conscious attempt to ensure that we have diversity, equality, and inclusion inbuilt into our very ethos as an organization. And we are making a lot of conscious efforts to ensure that in procurement, we get a lot of women across the organizational pyramid. So, like Shilpa and Saroj ma'am said, I think from an industry perspective in procurement, we have long to go, with regards to our representation as women in procurement. But I do see organization taking drastic steps. I see the organization change. I see a climate change within organizations where we are making a mark. Organizations are opening up to the very thought of us women being a part of the organization structure across levels in procurement, right? And like Anisha also mentioned, I think all of us can't believe more that we can do a better job, right? So absolutely agree with this. But ma'am, to come back to the question, there are a few things from a large organization perspective that I would want to share, because I've been a part of Wipro for about 14 years now. And like we said, very large organization, and absolutely humbling to see a lot of things and efforts that, I see Wipro as an organization, and I hope the other large organizations do, to ensure that we women get that visibility, we get our right place. To start off with, I think the most important thing is a leadership commitment. Top leaders championing diversity, equality, inclusion, and setting a tone for the organization, because it's a top-down approach, right? This very ethos of women being equal needs to be ingrained in the culture of the organization for it to then trickle down, and for everybody across organizations to look at us as equals, right? We are not asking for anything more. I think the only ask is to be us treated as equals, as equal as somebody else doing the same work as us. The second, I think, again, diverse representation, right? Recruitment and promoting women across organization, across levels is something which I see us doing. And I would also look at that as something which large organizations can put conscious efforts to ensure that they bring in a lot of women workforce, right? Followed by ensuring we have inclusive policies and practices. All we are saying is equal pay for equal work. We do the same work as somebody else does. We should be paid as much as the others. Let us have the same policies and benefits across organization without differentiation. That's something which large organizations can again have to ensure we don't feel differentiated. It's a very basic ask, which I'm sure large organizations are doing, but I think it would have a very significant impact on us. Something like training and development is again, something which could help us, empower us to do better, to grow. It could fuel our engine to ensure we catch up in the race against the others, right? So offering training programs, especially to raise awareness of unconscious bias, I think it's very important that the organizations have this reinforced within the whole organizational climate for everybody to know that there is something called unconscious bias. They need to provide platforms for skill development to us as women, where we can enhance our skills, gear up, and ensure that we are at par or better than the others who are working in the same field as us. So here again, at Wipro, we have something called a Women Leadership Program, where every quarter, women across teams, across countries, across verticals are identified as potential leaders. And this is not senior level. I'm talking right from a junior level. You identify, give them a platform to come on this training platform, gear up for the next level. Mid level, again, there is a different set of trainings for them, where they come together, they are trained and equipped to move up to the leadership level. At leadership, again, a lot of pride, a lot of women leaders in Wipro at a CXO level. Regular training, and I'm very sure you'll see them as CEOs of companies very soon, right? Our CFO is a lady, and I'm very sure very soon you'll see, one of our upcoming CEOs also being a lady. So like I said, these are very conscious efforts that large organizations can do. Most important, I'm talking for all of us here, I think for us as women, we need to feel safe, we need to feel respected, we need to have a sense of belongingness in the organization. All we are asking is to be heard, is to be given an equal platform, is to be given an opportunity like somebody else to prove our worth. If the organization gives us that platform, like all of us truly believe, we can do better, right? It's just about getting that platform in the organization for us to prove our worth. We're not asking for any favors to come, we're only asking for equal opportunity. So that is something, again, which organizations can give. There are, like I said, we need to have a sense of belongingness, right? I think studies have shown that it's employee retention, which is more important. And it's not just the money that people change organizations for, it's for that sense of belongingness to the organization. So if an organization can make us feel belonged by taking care of us, ensuring we are heard, we are as important as somebody else, give us basic facilities like childcare services, childcare facilities, medical facilities, take care of our, There could be certain requirements because, like all of us know, right? We wear 2, 3, 4, 5 hats at a time. We take care of family, we have kids, we take care of, the in-laws, we have parents, we have work. All we want is a little flexibility. If organizations can do that, I'm sure there's nothing more we can ask for, right? Ensuring we excel, we continue to deliver. It's just that little flexibility that organizations can give us, which would again give us that sense of pride and belongingness and ensure we are with organizations for long. Like I said, 14 years in Wipro, and I proudly say I'll retire from here because you can't ask for a better work culture for women in this industry today, right? So that's all I'm saying. Last but not the least, I think we should celebrate diversity, right? We need to have platforms, we can have events, we can have awards, we can have recognition. Let the woman's work, let her achievements be displayed to the larger world. I think it's very important to have that encouragement, to you as a person. I'm talking for myself, where I've had multiple platforms where the organization has showcased what I've done. What a sense of pride, right? And what a sense of happiness, joy. Ego is a very strong word, but little bit there, that you're as good or if not better than the others. So ma'am, just a few thoughts which I feel larger organizations can follow and ensure that women belong to the organization for long.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Again, an example of visionary thinking. I too believe that multiple actionable steps as a top-down approach, when you look at DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusiveness, can lead to organizational change that can create more equitable and inclusive culture within the organization and especially within the procurement departments, be it Wipro or any other company. The programs that you mentioned, like women leadership, sense of belongingness, celebrating diversity, is really one or more ways in which female leaders can be, or female employees can become what is called as more aligned with the organization. I now give you a very different perspective, because I have been for the past 2 years looking at inclusiveness, and we have been working with a few companies in the Bay Area. So they have a pledge 25 by 25. This promises to focus on having 25 female workforce by 2025. The example is Twitter, Boeing, Air Alaska, and 12 other companies. So it is still in the nascent because of the Twitter problem, because it changed gears. So now the other companies are taking up, and it is vividly seen in Air Alaska. So we have been able to develop a model for them, and that tells them whether they are on the right track, that 25% of the workforce are female. So if companies like Wipro here that we did talk about, and if companies put in some policies specifically, because this is a very closed domain, procurement department and procurement only, we are looking at that. But there are many people employed in this area, and there are interactions with across so many other companies, etc. So if something actionable, such actionable steps can be taken for employing women in the procurement departments, it would reflect on having a specific company policy. Hopefully in the coming decade, we will be able to see some women-led companies in India. Let them be at a smaller size or larger size, global. And if this policy gets reflected, so what about saying 30% of female workforce by 2030? It would be a wonderful example of showing diversity and equity and inclusiveness. And that will also ensure what we had on the first, that from 44%, can we move on to the 50% of employees within female-led employees within the organizations. Thank you very much. So now we have Sonia Menda. She is the category supplier manager at Micron Technology. I have to understand what the role really is. And I could understand that she has a great story to reveal about transitioning from a local into a global role. Sonia is there?
Yes, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for firstly having me as one of the panel members today. I'm really,
My question.
really
Yeah.
excited to be here. Sorry.
Yeah, please listen to my question now.
Sure,
My
sure.
question to you is, in your experience, because that you have moved from a lower because you were employed first time and then you grew up in the echelons in the organization. In your experience, what specific skills or areas of knowledge will be crucial for success and advancement in procurement? Can you particularly advise on particular resources, on training programs that can be recommended for women who look to upskill and thrive in the procurement field?
Sure, thank you so much. I think most of the panel members have already touched upon certain points that I want to cover. And as you can see with my experience, I've grown from like the lowest entry level to where I am right now, leading the entire travel and mobility category for Micron. I could not have done it without the network. I think Shilpa spoke about it, Anisha spoke about it, Priya touched upon it a bit. Having allies, having the network would definitely helps you grow in the organization, and also creating a network for you outside. In my experience, certifications like CPSM, now I'm pursuing CPSD, they have been really instrumental in my success and advancement in procurement. Not only have these certifications equipped me with essential skills of strategic sourcing, supplier relationship management, contract negotiations, etc., but they have also helped me give a comprehensive understanding of the principles. Not that we don't understand that when we work on this day in and day out, but when you're doing these certifications, it gives you like a different perspective that you can apply to your role and effectively contribute to your organization's success. I would just say that, the thinking out of the box has really helped me by doing these particular certifications. And for women who are wanting to excel in the field of procurement, which is obviously a male-dominated field, it is crucial to proactively seek out resources, which may be internal resources in your own organization, or it can be outside external resources as well. It can be training programs that can enhance both your technical knowledge. I think Shilpa touched upon this a bit. Not only procurement or, understanding finance and all that will help, but also doing something like AI, understanding data science and all of that also supports you in terms of enhancing your skills and knowledge. Apart from technical skills, I would also say leadership development opportunities are a must for every woman. Like, I think Priya touched upon this a bit as well, saying that you should recognize, I think Wipro does this really well. They identify women who are next generation leaders or next leaders. I think we should be giving more leadership development opportunities to women within organizations. And I think Shilpa said this really well. We need to be more vocal. We have the ideas. It's just the imposter syndrome that holds us back. And I think we need to be more open and not shy away from asking the necessary training or support that we need. It is essential to advocate your own self, communicate the importance of personal development to your managers, and most importantly, seek out for mentors in the industry. If you can't find mentors within your own organization, I'm sure we have a pool of women outside. LinkedIn is a great resource to find people, reach out and ask for mentorship. Specific training programs that I would recommend would be your online courses. I think ISM does a great job of workshops and conferences that you can attend. It'll help you create a network. that's where you can actually reach out to people and just ask for mentorship focused on procurement and supply chain. Apart from that, in conclusion, I would just say obtaining certifications definitely helps. Not only does it enhance the value within your own organization, but outside as well. It can create advancement opportunities in case you're looking to move out. I think that's a great way to advance your career in procurement. Invest in yourself. I know we have like a very busy lifestyle. I know we have multiple roles to juggle within our own life, like your personal life, your professional life, but take some time out to do your professional development. And that's how you all are going to grow in the career in supply chain and procurement.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, your example of skill enhancement in the form of certifications shall be a cue to many managers desirous of joining the middle and senior procurement positions. ISM India, ISM Global, we have purchasing level next, and we have procurement leadership as 4 important setups that offer several certifications to upskill. These are short programs, and they are really very helpful to people, specifically the females, who can keep apart some time for their professional development. There is ample opportunity globally and nationally in this field. Women can take up procurement roles based on expertise and their experience. There are several senior level positions where you have to lead the teams, develop the organization's purchasing policies. You have to look at supplier contracts. You have to analyze the markets. You have to look at quotes and bids and the service level agreements. At the mid-level managerial positions, you can look at vendor contracts, managing suppliers, developing contracts through all the life cycle stages. We had an example from one of the panelists there. And look at the retention in compliance with board-approved policy. That becomes important. There is another role that I would like to say, that nowadays legal counselors are very important, play a very important role in the purchase and procurement department. At my level, when I had joined, so I was given a department and I had to build up, and communication was the first thing. And then only you could do any contract, any speaking with a vendor, any speaking with a supplier. So it started from there, and the interest and your own personal interest. So I grew up like that. But nowadays we have what is called a specific related oriented requirements, and that can be matched. World Bank talks about what is the percentage in India about procuring borrowers, being as a supplier country, consulting services, and this is based upon the India spends, that is 1/3 of its GDP. This is basically the public spending, and all sectors. So whether you are in a private sector, you are in a public sector, we didn't have anybody from the public sector here, because that is really a male-dominated area domain, and we did not have on this panel. So mostly in the private sector, they are doing it. Okay, we have to ask how much time we are left, and we would like to conclude.
Sorry, ma'am, we are a little out of time, so we can just take up questions from audience if they have any.
Yeah, I would prefer to now throw open questions to the audience, and panelists and myself can answer to them. Over
So
to
guys,
you.
if you have any questions, kindly unmute yourself and please do not hesitate to ask. You can just take up a few, 1 or 2 questions for the panelists.
Okay, so we have 91 people, so we would like to have somebody speak up a question, and we will respond.
Hi, all ladies. I'm Kaveri, and
Wishing you everyone happy Women's Day. I have one question common to all from Shilpa to Saroj ma'am. Yes, we all are facing time management issues. I think I'm not wrong because of multitasking. Any of the specific practice you women follow, which has helped you over several years of time with your experience, and that is really an effective tool to manage your priorities, your overall time, which is really helping to give more productivity.
Yeah, I would like to answer this. Even I was facing the problems with the time management some time back. So that time I got to read a book, Eat That Frog.
Okay.
So which says that so we have to complete the task that is very important, that we don't like it first. So by that way, we can complete the task immediately, and rest of the tasks that are not highly prioritized or something that can be postponed, that we can keep it, and we can do it at the later part of the day. So the important and the high priority task has to be done first. Be it taking dropping the child to school, or finishing the important presentation for the office. So whatever you feel that is of utmost important, and if you don't like, try to complete that first.
Thanks,
Can I
Meenakshi.
just add one more point, Kaveri, and benefit to all, is also, a little bit more planning. I have seen this, and in fact, I have followed it for many number of years. I mean, it sounds very basic, but, a lot of things which you can do a little in advance, that really, really saves a lot of time, So, there are few tasks lined up. So if there is some pieces of it which you can plan in advance, rather than doing everything at the spur of the moment, that really helps economize a lot of your activities.
So I'll just add to what Anisha said, right? I think we're all facing this problem.
Yeah.
Personal experience again, and I reiterate to all women, you can't please everyone, right? Let's understand, you can't make everybody happy. It's
Yeah.
important for you to prioritize, like Anisha and Sonia said. Let's understand, prioritize what's important. Do that first, do the rest later. You need to have your boundaries, right? If somebody has a young child in the house, priority needs to be clear, right? If there's a meeting and you're getting a call from home, I've done it, just say, excuse me, come out. If you have an unwell parent in the house, priority, come out, take a call. Nobody is going to misunderstand you, right? It just ensures you are doing justice to what you think is important. For everybody else, everything is important. I mean, we are procurement people, right? People come to us saying we needed this yesterday. You
Yeah.
can't please them all, right? Let's understand, prioritize, and yes.
Yeah, and if I can add to what Meenakshi, Anisha, and Priya said too, it's certainly the prioritization, planning, and certain books. I haven't read that one, Meenakshi, so I will do that. But I think the thing I'd add to that is, personally, again, it's been sort of trial and error to get it right. But what really helped me was waking up really early in the morning. So honestly, at the crack of dawn, to make sure that whatever I need to do for me, and now this is not work, this is not family, but for me, whether it's running, whether it's meditating, I take those 30 minutes for me, because for me, that is what sets the tone. And certainly the prioritization and planning, and making sure you have that in place too. But giving time to yourself, I think, really puts you in that mental space to feel like you can accomplish what you need to. So that's all I'd add to that.
Yeah, it
Absolutely.
enhances your energy levels, So you have more energy by the end of the day if you've spent time for yourself.
Yes, absolutely correct. So it is me, my priorities, and my people. Can I code it like that? Thank you very much. Any other questions, please?
Thank you.
Yes,
One more
ma'am.
question. In procurement, non-technical people don't grow in career. Are there any online courses for gaining technical knowledge? We got this question in the chat. If someone can-
So
Yes,
if I can answer, I am a non-technical person, surprise, surprise, right? I don't come from an engineering background. I've done a bachelor's in business management and an MBA in marketing HR, and I'm in procurement today, right? So it's just about learning and growing. So it's not that you need to come with a technical background to make a place for yourself. Even when we interview people, I'm sure the others on the panel can vouch for it. I don't hardcore an engineer requirement for my job description, right? I think it's capability, it's experience, and it's your ability to learn. But today, if you ask me, I can give you specifications of hardware at the back of my hand. But that's not because I'm a professional, engineer. But I've learned it as a part of my growth in procurement. You start off from a junior level, you learn, you imbibe, you understand, and you grow. So, it's all about learning. You don't have to have a technical degree and background to grow. But yes, like you rightly said, you have to enhance your knowledge, right? I mean, I think ISM is a great platform, especially for procurement professionals. They have so many certifications that would give you that edge from a procurement perspective. And trust me, the technical competence comes with the job. It's just about you being open to learning intricate technical details of what you manage so that it gives you that edge to negotiate better.
Yeah. So I agree with Priya on this place, but I also disagree with her. So look at the domain of project management. You cannot become a project manager until you have a PMP certification, right? It's very important, very essential to understand what are the dimensions inside that domain. Similarly, for procurement, it is also like that. It is very difficult to look at for example, a person who has joined ab initio, and he has learned, how will he go into looking at the intricacies of building a contract? So it is learning by doing is there, agreed. But eventually what will happen after this workforce in the procurement area is stabilized, the companies would eventually be looking at certifications. They would be. We do not have any specific nowadays, but even if you have a smaller certification, that puts you at an advantage with respect to the other people. So I would encourage, again, to go into some sort of certification in the procurement department. But eventually, after 10 years, World Bank will come up, hey, do you have the certification for procurement? We would then put you onto the role of the CEO, Chief Procurement Officer. It would happen like that eventually. This time, take it easy, do a certification and move ahead. And it is your interest learning. So negotiations, how do you do? So you should have the best of the communications for a win-win situation. So you have to understand the supplier at the same time as well as your buyer at the same time. So you have to move ahead. Okay, any other questions so that we give it back to ISM?
No. Just one last question I would like to raise.
Yeah.
While seeking jobs and shifting the procurement domain, like as of now, I'm into public procurement, healthcare sector. I want to get into private steel industry procurement or IT procurement. I find it completely impossible to get recruited. What can we do in this case?
Yes, anybody, any person? Yeah. Okay, I will take a take on this. From my experience, I am basically an engineer who joined Bharat Heavy Electricals long time ago, 1982. I worked there for 26 years in various roles. I looked after the ERP, I looked after their website, I looked after strategic management, reorganizations. But every time what used to happen is that my boss, who would either be a general manager or an or a ED, as they call them in public sector undertakings. So they had a little bit soft corner for me. Hey, she will not be able to stay with us after 8:30, or we will have to have a driver for her to take her back home and all that. But when I understood that they are doing partiality to me, what was that very important thing is to learn the nitty-gritty and be smart and get the job decision making, because decision making was very important. So that helped me. And then when I moved on to the private sector, And I may have written more papers, published more papers in vendor-supplier relationship, and how do you work on them. Some techniques, like we have AHP technique, we have the best worst criterion method. These are some methods that you will also eventually learn when you will have to do at it in the private sector. That was employed, and as consultancy, that is being offered to companies. So now your specific question is on moving from public to private sector. Yes, that is not a problem. Hopefully, it can happen. Have I been able to address your question, please? This question, Kirti?
Well, yes. I think we can wrap up for today. And I
Right.
guess there are no other questions. So I thank all the participants for joining. And I thank all the panelists and all the speakers for their amazing contribution and for the beautiful insights that they have given to all the participants. I'm sure it's going to be very, very helpful to them. So if you have, and I hope ISM-INDIA continues to foster women empowerment, and they will come up soon with more women-related courses to encourage women in this sector. I just would like to let participants know that if they have any doubts, any questions, they can always contact ISM-INDIA, and for any other course-related questions or anything. Well, thank you all so much for joining this meeting, and I wish you all again a very happy International Women's Day.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Katie.
you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, all of you. Thanks,
Thank you.
panelists.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thank you. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Saroj ma'am. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye to everyone.
This